Evening, peeps. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. All right, let's talk boxing. Before we do that, don't forget, hit that subscribe button. If you guys are new to the channel, don't forget as well to like and share the vids. All right, it's been a couple of days, so there should be a lot to talk about. Apologies that I've not filmed in the last couple of days. I've just been super busy. If you guys follow me on Instagram, do you follow me on Instagram? You should. Instagram is Ade Oladipo. But if you follow me on Instagram, you know I've been up to Manchester. I left London Tuesday evening to do some filming with Tony Belly. We spoke to Dereck Chisora and Joseph Parker and Lerrone Richards. I'll talk about those interviews in a minute. Then I came back today being Thursday, I'm filming this Thursday evening. I came back today to do my show at Talk Sport, and I had to interview Gareth Southgate, England manager. So it's been pretty busy. So we've not been able to do what we wanted to do this week. I was supposed to have a guest right here. I had to cancel that just because we had to go to Manchester. And final thing before we talk all things boxing. Obviously, I'm going back up to Manchester tomorrow night for the show on Saturday. I'm in a bit of a different role on Saturday. You guys will see what I'm talking about. I can't really tell you what the role is, but you guys will see it come Saturday night if you are going to watch Dereck Chisora versus Joseph Parker. All right, you know what? Let's talk Chisora Parker. Let's quickly bring up the fight card and go through it. We haven't really done that for a while, have we? Let's quickly do it. I remember when this fight was first mentioned, I wasn't too excited about it, I have to be honest with you. I didn't find the first fight overly exciting. Some people have said maybe it's because it was behind closed doors, and that's the kind of fight where, you know, the crowd really start making a lot of noise and you get into it. And maybe. I mean, there have been some fights behind closed doors that I've enjoyed, but maybe it's one of those ones that it just needed a crowd. Well, they've got a crowd now at the AO Arena in Manchester, so it should be a lot better. Joseph Parker looked really big. He looked a lot bigger than before, put it that way. When I interviewed him the other day, very confident. Credited Chisora, said it was a tough fight, that Chisora was a lot tougher than he expected. But, you know, he said that this time round, obviously, he's got a longer camp with Andy Lee, a lot longer. The first time round, when he left Kevin Barry, I think he had Andy Lee for about 4.5, 5 weeks. This time, obviously, I mean, he's got months with Andy Lee. And I spoke to Andy Lee. Obviously, we worked together for The Zone. And by the way, it's really, Andy Lee is one of the nicest guys you could ever meet. Like, so nice, really just sits down like a real boxing man. Like, you get some boxers that don't love the sport of boxing. It's just the way it is, right? You've been in it for 20 plus years, 30 years. You're just falling out of love with it. He loves boxing. And he was openly saying that Joseph Parker just needs to be a lot more aggressive. And that's what they've worked on. Him being a bit more aggressive, him being a bit bigger, because they felt like Chisora bullied him a lot. And look, Chisora could do that of anyone, if I'm honest with you. He's a bull. Is Chisora a bull? So, yeah, those are the things they've worked on. When I spoke to Joseph, you know, I asked him about being in camp with Tyson Fury. Does that give you much confidence? And I asked him, how far away do you think you are from that mix, right? There was a time when, if you was to ask people about Joseph Parker and say, is Joseph Parker a top 10 heavyweight? Everyone would have said yes. I feel like not everyone would say that anymore. So he said himself, like, he's got to get himself back into the mix. A couple of wins. So he thinks he's a couple of wins away. I'm guessing he means Chisora and then one more, not two more after Chisora. So look, he's confident. Chisora was just confident. And I put a question to Chisora. What did I say? I said, how have you been able to change the mindset of boxing fans? And what I meant was Chisora's got 11 defeats. He didn't even know that. I don't know. I said to him, you've got 11. He said he thought it was 10. I said, no, it's 11. But I said, how have you been able to change the mindset of boxing fans? Because you've got so many defeats, and he has ridiculous amount of defeats, but yet fans will still tune in. I mean, if Chisora was on pay-per-view, it would do decent numbers, right? And he's like, just because I bring it. They know I bring it. I don't bullshit. You know, I'm not fake. I bring it. And that's what he will do on Saturday night. He will bring it to Joseph Parker. Like, I think Joseph Parker's ceiling's higher than Chisora's. I just do. I think obviously he's a lot younger. Chisora's 37, Joseph Parker's 29. That should play a part in it. Chisora has been through lots of fights, fight camps, sparring wars. We've seen it. Remember the one with, who's that? Bryant Jennings. Like, they were really going at each other. And I feel like that's always Chisora sparring. So, I don't know. There's a lot of wear and tear on Chisora. There's not the same with Joseph Parker. You think of Joseph Parker's toughest fights. AJ wasn't tough. That really wasn't tough. Andy Ruiz was a physically tough fight. Carlos Takam at times was. Dillian White. But not as many as Chisora. So Joseph Parker should win this fight. He should. But again, Chisora could start really fast like he did the first time around. Joseph Parker said, I asked Joseph Parker, what did I say? I said, the one critique people label at you, and I was really talking about myself, if I'm honest with you, is that you always start slow. And Tony Bellew then jumped in. It's because Tony Bellew said it's because he is a seasoned pro. A lot of seasoned pros start slow just because they know it's going to get tough down the stretch. And Joseph Parker said, yeah, I agree with you, Tony, but Chisora starts fast and stays fast. And I think he might have to match Chisora in starting out the gate really fast and then hoping that Chisora tires down the stretch, which sometimes he does. You know, Chisora's a smart boxer. He'll have rounds that he takes off, the middle rounds. Go and watch his fights. I've been doing a lot of studying for this. He has a lot of rounds off, but then he goes back to the well and he'll finish the fights really, really well, Chisora. So again, for me, if Joseph Parker boxed to his absolute best, and it's been a long time since we've seen that, then Joseph Parker should win this one. But if Chisora starts fast and can continue and stay fast and be aggressive and keep Joseph Parker on the ropes like he did a lot in the first fight, Joseph Parker doesn't like that. Joseph Parker's not a fighter that can, he's not really a good counter-puncher. He's not really great off the ropes. It's when he stands in the center, you know, he's got good feet, he can pivot well, and then that's the best work for him. If he goes to the ropes and has a war with Chisora, then he's got a problem. That's what Chisora wants him to do. So look, I think this time round with the fans, again, both looking in great shape, really. Chisora looked in fantastic shape, and so did Joseph Parker. I think it's going to be a really, really good fight. I really do. So I'm looking forward to being there. I mean, I feel lucky to be there for some of these fights, but I'm looking forward to being there. I'm looking forward to being in the Manchester Arena, or the AO Arena it's called now, with a lot of fans. I'm trying to think of the events I've done for Matchroom. Liverpool was okay. Liverpool was good. Good atmosphere. Sheffield was good. I'll tell you what, the best atmosphere by far, I think I've mentioned this already, Leeds, Josh Warrington. Of any event I've ever been to, boxing event, that's the greatest atmosphere ever. 20,000 Leeds fans, it felt like 100. Felt like 100,000, it really was. I'm going to do, trying to think who I can get here to do it with me, like end of year awards type thing. I actually filmed one with Tony Bellew for DAZN, and we both said, I was like, he said, I've got it. That's what he said. I've got it. Best atmosphere, easy. And I was like, oh, I've got it as well. And then we went 3, 2, 1, Josh Warrington. Both of us agreed. Josh Warrington, atmosphere, great. All right, Carlos Gongora versus Lerrone Richards. We're going to fly through these now. Apologies. Great fight. Pick of the night. It would have been Vlasov versus Boatsi, but obviously that's off. So it is Carlos Gongora versus Lerrone Richards. Lerrone Richards, I feel like, is Britain's best kept secret. No one really knows too much about Lerrone Richards. Unless you know your boxing, you might not have watched these fights, but he's an unbeaten super middleweight, very, very good. Former European champion. He's given up the belt to go for this. Obviously, this is an IBO super middleweight title. Fringe. It's still a world title for some. It's, you know, some of the greatest fighters ever have held this belt. So it's not to be laughed at, but obviously, look, we know who has all the belts in the division, so it's going to be very difficult to get those belts. But Lerrone Richards is there. Great fighter. I like him. It's going to be interesting to see what he does when he has to dig deep here, and he's going to have to. The reason I say that is because we haven't seen anything with regards to power for Lerrone Richards. 15 fights, 15 wins, only 3 knockouts. 3 knockouts. He's working with Boxing Science, Danny from Boxing Science, who has changed his physique. Really, he looks so much better now, Lerrone Richards. So I do wonder if they've tried to work on the power a little bit. I've been watching some of the stuff. I don't know if you guys follow Boxing Science. If you do, or if you don't, sorry, go to their Instagram page. They work with Fabio Wardley, Jordan Gill, Terry Harper, a few decent fighters. And I think Lerrone Richards is, it's important that there is a bit of pop there, because he's going to have to keep Gongora off. Gongora's a really good fighter, 20 fights, 20 wins, 15 knockouts. I watched Gongora's fight against Akhmedov. Akhmedov, big favourite going into that fight, from Kazakhstan, trained and sparred with GGG. So a lot of people very high on Akhmedov, and they still are, to be fair. And he takes a few cracks from Akhmedov, so he's got a chin, Gongora, but then he lands some beautiful shots. He puts Gongora down. Sorry, Gongora puts Akhmedov down. I think it might be round 12. Was it the final round? It might have been the final round with an uppercut. It's so clean, like punch perfect, sharp, bang, uppercut. And then he just starts chopping the tree down. And it was such a good performance. Again, he wasn't favourite going into him. He's got a good amateur background as well. So it'd be interesting to see how Lerrone Richards deals with it, because Lerrone Richards is a very, very slick boxer, but I think Gongora is as well, and Gongora can take a punch. So I think it will be somewhat of an upset if Lerrone Richards wins, but this is it. This is what you've got to do. You think about it, like Conor Benn. We always talk about Conor Benn, and everyone's been trying to, what next, what next? Sometimes you might just have to roll the dice. And I think they're doing that with Lerrone Richards, knowing if he wins, bang, lift off, right? Lift off, co-main event. He won't be, the only reason he is co-main in my eyes, the only reason he's not co-main is because Chisora and Lerrone Richards are both trained by Dave Coldwell. If it was a different trainer, Lerrone Richards would be co-main. So it's a bit upsetting, I think, for Lerrone that he's not going to be co-main. I think there's going to be a couple of fights in there. Jack Cullen versus Kevin Saggio is going to be a difficult one for Jack Cullen. You guys might remember Jack Cullen from Fight Camp, beat Avni Yildirim. But he's taken on Kevin Saggio, who, great fighter. Well, good fighter. A lot of knockouts on the resume. 16 fights, 16 wins, 14 knockouts for Kevin Saggio. It wasn't even supposed to be Saggio. It was supposed to be Color, a German fighter. So Saggio's come in, so I don't know. You'll see a massive size difference as well. Jack Cullen, I saw him yesterday, 6'3", 6'4". Saggio, 5'8", 5'9" max. There's a big difference. Zelfa Barrett versus Bruno Tarimo. Bruno Tarimo, Australian. Obviously, Australia's right now buzzing, right? I mean, it really is in a good place. Zelfa Barrett coming off that. Was it Kiko Martinez? Was that his last fight? Let's have a look. No, okay, Vorio Simeon, I forgot about that. Looked confident. I saw him yesterday. I saw Pat Barrett as well. They seem very, very confident. And he was like, what did Zelfa say? This is my hometown. Ain't nothing happening in Manchester. So very, very confident. A couple of cruiserweights, Jordan Thompson being one of them. The one that I'm really looking forward to, though, is David Nyika. Interesting to see a lot of people talking about this kid. It's going to be his second fight. He's taken on Anthony Carpin, the French fighter. But a lot of people talk about David Nyika as one to watch. Olympian, I think, as Olympic bronze medalist, I think. They don't give out those medals for free. Be interesting to see what he does. Babic is on the card. Last minute. Like, you always put Babic on. If you can get Babic on, because you know he's going to be exciting. And if you need someone to kind of boost the crowd a bit, he's perfect for that, isn't he? He's on the card. He takes on someone called David Spillman. Don't know too much about David Spillman, but it's always good to see Babic on the card. Babic did say that he is going down to Bridgerweight to fight Oscar Rivas. But then he says he wants to come back up to heavy. So he wants to go down to Bridgerweight, win that belt, and then come up to heavy, and hope that by having the Bridgerweight belt and some sort of title, you know, it might get him big fights at at heavy. He even did say he'll go down to cruiser, by the way. He mentioned that as well. I don't know if he can, I doubt he can make cruiser. But obviously, Bridgerweight is perfect for him. So look, it's a decent card. It's the final one of the year. Again, it's a big night for myself. So please, if you can, tune in. I do need all your well wishes for a big night for me. But I look forward to it. I just like being at these events and just mixing with the fans. A few have started to recognise me, and it's always good to take pictures and have conversations. I love it. I really do. So if you are going to be there, holler at your boy. Loads of fights this weekend, obviously. We've got Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley. Say what you want to say. I'm just happy. You know what's crazy? You know what I found? I said this to Gareth. Obviously, Amanda Serrano's fighting on the card. And that's why I'm saying credit to Jake Paul, because he could have said, nah, I don't want to do this anymore. It should have been Tommy Fury. It isn't. I'm taking a break. But if he takes a break, no one on the undercard, obviously there is no undercard, no one gets paid. So he stand on the card to make sure everyone gets paid. But what I found really strange was, obviously there's Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano fight, which should happen at Madison Square Garden next year. Eddie Hearn is having conversations with Jake Paul. How mad? How crazy? Like, he literally has come and he's coming, and he's now a big name in the boxing world. Eddie Hearn is having conversations with Jake Paul, who now represents Amanda Serrano, about Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor. Mental. If you were, imagine someone telling you that a year ago, in fact 6 months ago, that Katie Taylor is going to fight Amanda Serrano in Madison Square Garden, one of the biggest female fights of all time. Not the biggest, but one of the biggest. And Eddie's going to talk to Jake Paul to discuss figures. Madness. But yeah, that's going to happen. I think Ramirez, who's fighting today? Gilberto Ramirez is fighting tomorrow, right? on the Zone. Tomorrow, yeah, it's tomorrow on the Zone. No, wait, sorry, let me just double check that. Unbeaten Gervonta Ramirez as well. Let's not forget, former WBO 168-pound champion, now fighting as a light heavy, 42-0. He's fighting on the 18th. So, okay, same day against Iniesta Gonzalez from Cuba, I think he is, who's 21-3. He just hasn't had that fight, has he, Ramirez? Hasn't had that fight. Be interesting to see what happens here. Be interesting to see if he fights the winner of Beterbiev versus Marcus Brown or something like that. He just needs a fight of note. They've got the figures here for Lomachenko. Comey fight drew a peak audience of 1.24 million, average 1.1. I don't even know if those are good numbers. Sounds good. That's kind of sounds big when you hit that million mark, but I'm not quite sure. Jose Ramirez versus Pedraza. Like it. Made official for February the 5th in Fresno. Don't mind that one at all. They got a photo here of Beterbiev and Marcus Brown. Marcus Brown's actually a bit taller. This is going to be a good fight, you know. I like this fight a lot. I like this fight a lot. That's tomorrow, isn't it? Should be a good little scrap, that one. Again, loads of boxing on the weekend. Not complaining. Not complaining. More boxing than I can ever remember. But not complaining whatsoever. A bit here from Conor Benn saying, if Broner fight doesn't happen, would love to fight Danny Garcia or Mikey Garcia. Interest in this. Bear in mind, Mikey last fought 140 and is coming off a loss. Got beat by Sandor Martin. Still, obviously, look, say what you want. I know he's coming off a loss, but if Conor were to fight Mikey, that's a massive step up. Massive step up. I don't care. I know Mikey's naturally a lot smaller, but I still think Conor's small for 147. He can't make 140. I know he did early in his career. He can't. There's nothing of him at a weigh-in, so it's just body mechanics sometimes. Danny Garcia is interesting. Danny said he's going to go to 154 pounds. Hasn't fought since the Errol Spence loss, so it's been a while. It's good, but you think, okay, how can these fights be made? Realistically, I mean, unless Eddie chucks according to Leonard Eddie is paying a lot, unless they chuck a massive amount of money at Danny Garcia, that's the only way he's going to fight under zone. You know, and he says he wants to fight 154 pounds. If you're a Danny, realistically, if you're a Danny, I don't know his contract situation with Al, but if you're a Danny Garcia and you get the phone call from Eddie Hearn and he wants to pay you a truckload of money to fight an inexperienced, and that's kind of what Conor is still, an inexperienced fighter, and it's Conor Benn. If you're Danny, you take that. Surely you think, okay, I'll fight him. And you know, as good as I think Conor will be, I mean, Danny Garcia legit. Like Danny Garcia, I thought looked good against Errol. I thought Errol just looked a lot better. I didn't watch the fight against Errol and think, oh, Danny's on the way up, down. Although he is, you know what I mean? I don't think he's washed. I think he's very, very good still. Very, very good. It's just the champions at 147 are very, very good as well. That's probably why he's thinking, let me just go 154. You know, I'm not going to get another title shot anytime soon. Let me just go there. But yeah, if you were to get the call and Eddie was going to say, here's a couple of million to fight Conor Benn, you take the fight. You take the fight. I almost feel like Eddie and DAZN might have to overpay to get some of these fighters to cross over. Just the only way it's going to happen, isn't it? Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Joseph Parker here saying, if I can't beat Chisora, I have to really look at myself. Don't put pressure on yourself, boy. Don't put pressure on yourself. This is interesting. And I'm maybe chuck some names at me. Hughie Fury's next fight will be of real significance, says boxer exec. Who? Like, I'm trying to think of, like, I said Charles Martin. That was the one for me. I've been saying Charles Martin a lot with a lot of fights, but I said Charles Martin. But obviously Charles Martin's got the Luis Ortiz fight, so that's that. I'm trying to think who. Let me just quickly bring up. I just want to quickly bring up Box Rec heavyweights very quick. I just want to quickly go through who is actually there that would make sense for Hughie Fury. Let's run through the ones that it can't be. Usyk, Fury, Joshua, Wilder, White, Parker, Chisora, Hunter. Hunter's interesting. Gassiev is interesting as well. Obviously, Gassiev coming off a world title lost, but that's a world title loss, not a problem. Around this time a year ago, wasn't it, to AJ? Had that fight with Frank Mir in that UFC versus MMA versus boxing fight. Gassiev's interesting, and Gassiev's got slow feet, so Hughie could cause him a problem. He's not going to fight Joe Joyce. Andrew Ruiz is out. Caballero, don't know. He's unbeaten, Caballero, but he's going to slow down. Helenius would be very, very interesting, but also very, very dangerous. I actually wouldn't mind seeing Helenius versus Frank Sanchez. You know, I would like to see given opportunity just because of what's happened recently. Otto Wallin. I don't like the way he's just been kicked to the curb. This man was supposed to fight Dillian Whyte. He wasn't able to stay on the card, and he deserves an opportunity, whether it be with DAZN, Matchroom, or someone. So I wouldn't mind seeing him get an opportunity. And then there's other names. Bacoli's fighting Tony Yoka. Adam Kalnacki kind of done for now after those back-to-back defeats. Frank Sanchez, I think, will fight Robert Helenius. So there's not much there. F.A. Jagba, would they dare risk bringing F.A. Jagba over? I bloody doubt it. All right, anything else? Okay, this is very interesting. Let me read this. I'm going to have to click into this one. Fury versus White, targeted for March date in Cardiff. Says Warren. Not Eddie Hearn, Warren. All right, the two sides have begun discussions with their biggest obstacle being the mandatory split between the two fighters. Fury's team strongly feels that White is entitled to no more than an 80-20 split. And they're talking about the 75,000-seater stadium in Cardiff. But the fact is they're talking about it. He went on to say, you got to be realistic and look at this time of the year, at that time of the year. First of all, of course, it's the stadium fight. But to put it in any stadium that doesn't have a roof, and unfortunately none of them have got roofs other than Cardiff, Warren told TalkSport, doesn't make sense. So yeah, okay, interesting. At least they're discussing it. With regards to the mandatory split, that shouldn't even be a case of promoters getting involved. WBC should just say, this is what you get. If you're a mandatory situation, you get 75 or 20, whatever it is. Sorry, 25 or 20, whatever. So that shouldn't hold it up, because that shouldn't be something that they have to negotiate. Mandatory split has kind of been known for years. So yeah, but that's very good news that Frank's actually mentioned that now. All right, anything else before we go home? 2 secs, peeps. Gervonta Davis says, I feel as though I'm the best at 135. None of them guys can beat me. I don't know about that. You can't say, I feel as though I'm the best. You've got to fight those guys. Do you know what I mean? I don't understand that I feel as though I'm the best. I am the best. You know why I'm the best? Because I beat them. Done. That's it. Simple. It's not difficult, is it? It's not rocket science. Fight them. Fight them. Fight them. You know what I want Gervonta Davis to do? And he hasn't done it yet, has he? Call out Lomachenko. Call out Loma. Not none of this Twitter beef. Tell your people to talk to Loma and try and make this fight happen with Lomachenko. Because he's not going to get the Kambosos fight, really, is he? Devin Haney looks like he might get the Kambosos fight. I don't know what's going on with Ryan Garcia. And look, Ryan, as much as he's talking, and I love it, he's not going to come back after being out of the ring for this long after a hand surgery, whatever it was, the mental health issues he's gone through, to then come and fight Gervonta Davis. He's not, so let's park him for a second. Tio's going to 140. Shakur Stevenson, for as good as he is going to stay at 130 for maybe one or two more. So really and truly, I've just removed a few there. It's only Loma left. Call that Loma. Won't do it. Won't do it. All right, anything else? They've got a picture here of Madrimov, Israel Madrimov. He fights Michael Soro. Madrimov looks like a young GGG. And I can't believe I'm looking at him. I'm thinking, how are you a junior middleweight? He's huge. Anyway, yeah, he looks like a young GGG. It's going to be a good fight against Michael Soro. Soro doesn't play either. Should be a good one there. Anything else, peeps? 2 secs. Don't think there is. Tyron Woodley here saying, I beat Jake Paul in August. Vows to get KO in rematch. Didn't do anything. He did literally, apart from that one punch, and Jake Paul kind of fell through the ropes. Didn't do shit. Didn't do shit. We'll end on this one. Actually, we'll end on a couple, actually. Lubin, Erickson Lubin's trainer, says he wants Harrison, Williams, Hurd, or Danny Garcia next. I like Erickson Lubin. To be fair, I feel like it's unfortunate because Charlo and Castano drew. I feel like he would have fought the winner and maybe had an opportunity. Him and Charlo obviously have business, don't they? After Charlo stopped him in the very first round. So, but now because of that, he's having to kind of wait again. But all the names he's spoken about there, Harrison Williams, Hurdle, Danny Garcia, great names. And I feel like that's kind of what should happen. Hearn on Fury-Whyte. Absolutely, we want more than an 80-20 split for deal with Top Rank. And Warren. Might not get it. You're mandatory. I mean, Eddie, it'd be interesting to see what Eddie offers the mandatories. Like when they were fighting AJ and stuff. It'd be interesting to see if any of them got more than an 80-20 split. Doubt it. Or if it was 85-25. Look, I get that Dillian Whyte brings a lot more to the table than some of AJ's mandatories, you know, the Pulevs of the world, etc. But or the Povetkins. But I don't know, man. I don't know. Does he deserve more than an 80-20 split? Just get the fight. What I don't want, and this is the problem, like, and people are going to start to maybe accuse him of not really wanting to fight. Look, you've got to get paid. You've got to get paid, and I get all that. But, like, with the AJ opportunity, a couple of years back now, there was an issue with something in the rematch clause. Andy Ruiz eventually took the fight. Andy Ruiz changed his life, right? Made bucket loads of money, became world champion. And now with this, there's an issue with the split. You got a chance to fight Tyson Fury. You beat him, no doubt there'll be a rematch clause in there somewhere. You beat him, you chop his head off, you take the power. In the rematch, you become the man. You become the man. So look, if this fight doesn't happen, say like Fury says, I want it, but you're only getting a 20 split and it doesn't happen because Dillian Whyte's not happy with the 20 split, then I don't think any of us can cry tears for him anymore, because that'll be 2 world title opportunities against 2 formidable foes, massive stadium fights that you've turned down for whatever reason. And sometimes you just have to take your opportunity. You just do. It might not be favourable to you, but you just have to take it. Guys, peace and love.